Welcome to the 8th edition of the only startup award in India that truly matters, the Economic Times Startup Awards 2022. Now I know. Hello, Shivku, how are you? I know what all of you are thinking. You were here just a few months ago to celebrate the best startup of 2021, and you're back here in the same calendar year to celebrate the best startups of 2022. Now what can I say? It's that kind of year. First, revenge shopping, then we had revenge travel. Now clearly we have revenge startupping. Now, let's quickly take a stock of what's happened since the last time we met. Two celebrated geniuses have been in the news. One man thought he would set a little blue bird free. It turned out the bird was correct, except he was a bit cuckoo himself. Usually we'd ask you to tweet about the ET Startup Awards, use the hashtag ET Startup Awards, but who knows, will Twitter be there tomorrow morning or not? Anybody here in the sanitary ware industry? Let that sink in. Then we had a crypto bro who went from nothing to 32 billion. Hello, Nandan, how are you? From 32 billion in valuation. You're not the crypto bro. He went from nothing to 32 billion to nothing again. Now, think about it. Now, everybody thought a guy with literally the word bank in his name. He's a bank man. What can go wrong? But they also forgot that he has fried in his name. So bank got fried. So moral of the story, a bird that had to get freed got fried. And sometimes you cannot bank on certain men to look after your virtual assets. Okay, enough puns you're saying? Enough puns? Enough Dogla puns also? All right, let's get on with our show today. As always, we have the best and brightest of the Indian startup ecosystem, along with some of our best and brightest politicians are on their way. They'll be here soon. But first, a big thank you to our sponsors, our presenting sponsor, IDFC First Bank. Hello, Mr. Vaidyanathan, how are you? Our hospitality partner, the Leela Palace Bengaluru, knowledge partner Traction, telecast partner ET Now. If you'd like to go social with today's awards, like I said, we don't know about Twitter, but go social anyway. It's hashtag ET Startup Awards. And if your friends were not lucky enough to be invited here today, tell them that we're also streaming live on ET Now and our website, etstartupawards.com. Now, startups need ideas, passion, risk-taking, and capital, but they also need a stable country and a government that wants them to succeed. We are going to soon have all that in the room today. We have the startup founders already. We will soon be joined by Mr. Ashwini Vaishnaw, Union Minister for Railways, Communications, Electronics and IT, Mr. Piyush Goyal, Union Minister for Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution and Textiles, and of course, Mr. Basavaraj Bommai, Chief Minister of Karnataka. They will be here soon. Right. A quick word of thanks to our jury as well. This year's jury was Salil Parekh, Sanjeev Bikhchandani, Shailendra Singh, Arundhati Bhattacharya, Sriharsha Majeti, Girish Matrabhutam, Satyan Gajwani, Hemant Taneja, Lizzie Chapman, and Sahil Barua. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for doing a tough job of picking this year's ET Startup Awards winners. Now, thank you. The ET Startup Awards recognize excellence in 9 categories. But before I tell you what those categories are, I'm going to invite Samida Sharma, Editor Startups and Emerging Business, The Economic Times, onto stage to moderate this evening's panel discussion. Samida, can we have you on stage? May I also invite our panelists, Smita Deora, co-founder Lead. Smita, can we have you on stage? Sumer Juneja, Managing Partner, India and EMA, SoftBank. Sumer. Harsh Jain, co-founder Dream11 Sports. Kalyan Krishnamurthy, CEO of Flipkart Group. And of course, Nitin Kamath, founder and CEO of Zerodha. The amount of net worth on this stage is staggering right now. All right, today's panel discussion is titled The Great Reset, Tracking the Growth versus Profitability Conundrum Amidst the Tech Winter. Samida, over to you.
Check. Hi. Thanks, Suresh. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here today at the 8th edition of the Economic Times Startup Awards. It's been a unique year. We're obviously, like Suresh mentioned, meeting for the second time around. Nitin is a constant. He was there in March, and we were early signs of what is now being called the tech winter was around the corner. VCs were circulating cautionary notes. 6 months down the line, obviously, a lot has changed and very rapidly. We don't have too much time, so I'm going to jump in. We're talking about how this whole reset is going to play out. We're going to weigh in on things like profitability over growth, And we have a very varied set of folks here. I want to start off with Smita. Smita, you're in a sector which has obviously seen a lot of turmoil. It gained from the COVID bump up. And EdTech obviously was actually one of the first ones in India to see a lot of layoffs, reset of businesses. Tell us a little about what is internally right now your memo to your employees, your team, as this must be one of the first downturns that they would have faced. What are you telling them?
See, pre-COVID, the education sector was largely seen as institutions and schools imparting education, and then we had all these technology players who were directly talking to students and learners who were older in age group, whether it was test prep or higher education. I think the exuberance which always surprised me during COVID was the same was getting reapplied to much younger students, which was just, if you speak to any parent, I think it just defies how learning happens for young children, where it needs to happen in a physical environment in a school. Technology, hence, for this age group, always needs to belong in the hand of the teachers versus direct to students. So I think some of what we saw was a lot of money going towards K-12, B2C edtech, which I always believed was a swing up. It had to come, it had to come down once schools reopened, and that's what we're seeing. For us, the internal memo, to answer your question, is we are actually in great times now because we have always believed in giving technology to teachers and working in schools. COVID was tough for us because schools were shut. Our internal memo is this is the time when we go out and
But
we
you've
make
done a
learning
bit of
happen.
rationalizing, right? I hear there's been layoffs, etc. at Lead as well.
See, every organization goes through performance, performance appraisals and goes through sometimes some amount of restructuring because you automate things. In a large 2,000 member, size organization, we had some 80, 90 people who left through the performance cycle. That's all that's happened. But at that point of time, media was all about layoffs, so they just wanted to
Okay,
pin everything to
we
layoffs.
won't talk about
and
the
then,
media today. Today is all about you guys. So just shifting focus a little bit, I want to come to, like I said, very varied panel. So two profitable companies, one 15-year-old company which is still making losses, but Kalyan obviously says that he's investing and therefore there's a reason for that. And obviously we have an investor who will bring a different lens to the conversation. But Harsh, I want you to talk a little about how this entire reset works for someone like you, which is profitable but has raised money. There is valuation pressure. How do you kind of balance this whole growth and profitability? Because a lot of founders are telling me today they're fine clocking 20% growth and would rather do that consistently and be profitable. How does that impact your valuation and overall, what investors think about it?
Yeah, thanks, Amita. So, look, I think we were already profitable before. We've been
Right.
profitable for a few years, so it's not something new
Yeah.
that we're trying to do a flip over and find out. I don't think profitability and growth should be two sides of a coin, right? There are ways to grow profitably as well. And I think that's what we're focusing on. I think the problem happens when you try to hyper grow, when your unit economics are not in place. When you're hoping that you'll raise money today, burn through it, hyper burn through it in 12 months, sometimes lesser, and you feel like, oh, it'll be easy to raise money after that again. I think the minute you have companies that try to raise money with an 18-month runway, which can be reduced to 12 months if it's going well, or extended to 24 months, at the end of which you're profitable, or you at least break even. I think that whole mindset is now coming into India, and we're going to see a lot more companies with that mindset growing today. We need to have that 2008 kind of mindset where you can't count on funding 6 months, 12 months down the line. You have to build. We're not The ones like that are private companies like us are actually, we're not Section 8 companies, so we can't be not profitable for forever.
But tell me, how does all of that impact your prospect of tapping the public market, if at all? I don't know, you've never really spoken about it very seriously, but do you think you're kind of then, you would be an equally successful public company with that mindset?
I hope so. I don't think the fundamentals should change if you're private or public, right? Your unit economics, your thoughtfulness in growing responsibly, being self-sustainable, these are things with high corporate governance. These are things you should have even if you're private or public. I think the only thing that we would look at going public if you're solving a problem that exists by going public. I don't think I would ever want to go public just for fanfare or because the market's hot or, that's not a reason to go public for us.
Kalyan, what's your point of view? I mean, were you expecting, you also gained from the whole digital, sort of the bull market of COVID. You did a lot of M&A. You expanded in a lot of new sectors. Did you anticipate this kind of a downturn happening? I mean, you've actually been talking about it for a while. You also, I hear, had a freeze on hiring about 6 months before everyone sort of started laying off. Did you anticipate this, or would you have sort of done it a little differently in 2021?
Yeah, we absolutely anticipated this. I think just to pick on what Harsh also said, in 2001, companies saw a spike in valuation of, I don't know what, 2x to 6x, with some underlying assumptions for the next 2 to 3 years. I think very quickly it was clear that those assumptions are not going to play out, right? Growth assumptions, profitability assumptions, it was very, very clear. So 6-8 months into this year, it was so clear that there is going to be a reversal of all of that. Or people were smart, I don't know, smart enough or savvy enough to raise enough money last year that they don't go to the market and actually grow into those financials.
That never happens, no?
95% of the times it will not happen. I think there will be a couple of situations where it can happen. So yeah, this is going to be a tough next year. I think a lot of people probably hit the market, is my estimate, maybe between April to June next year.
You mean the funding market?
The funding market to raise money, and that's probably the moment of truth for all of us in the ecosystem.
What do you expect? Will there be a lot of them which will find themselves to be overvalued and therefore will have to go for a down round?
Yeah. But then there is some more creativity in the funding market. I think what people do is there is this new... There is, yeah. So you see, all of us have been in this market for several years, and in my previous career, on the last 15 years, this structure was kind of not very common, the convertible structure, where you actually can raise money without pricing around. So I do believe...
That doesn't really help, right, Nitin? I mean, what's your view? Saving your valuation for a later discovery, I mean, how does that work?
No, I think, when you're pushed to the edge, you will do whatever it takes, right? As in, entrepreneurs are all fighters, so we're gonna fight it out types. So, yeah, I think right now, yeah, I think entrepreneurs have to do what is right for the business, and if it means convertible rounds, so be it.
But I mean, you obviously have never raised any external capital. You're bootstrapped till today. You're highly profitable. You also have a view from the public markets standpoint. And I remember 6 months back when we were on stage, you did point out that this will be a longish kind of slow period. We weren't very clear. It's actually, I think in India, it's still sort of, we're lagging behind US. And I'll come to Somer to get a little bit of the view from the West. But how do you evaluate a situation like this? Do you actually think it is advisable for companies to just take a valuation which is, say, 20 or 30% lower, raise, and then sort of build for the next 2 to 3 years heads down, or keep saving their valuation through what Kalyan just mentioned, creative ways of fundraising?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm really qualified to talk about this, but yeah.
I think you can talk more freely about this than anyone else here.
Yeah. So, see, the thing is, I think the little bit of bearishness I felt, in March, April was because we had seen, a few IPOs not do well, and in the public markets, the memories last much longer than in the private markets, So, and unless a few companies come make money, it was hard to see how a lot of new startups could come raise money from the public market, and the problem with, I think, with the startup ecosystem is that everyone's looking at the public market as an exit, but really it's an entry, right? As in you're getting a retail investor who can take the least risk on your cap table. So you should kind of, leave some value on the table for that, right? As in, and that, if you look at the last few years, I mean, not just in India, across the world, everyone is looking at public market as an exit, and it felt like, we've hit the top where I don't think more public investors will get swayed by that. So that's how it felt that, we'll probably not have, too many IPOs in the future. In terms of, if I was in the shoes where, if say the next 12 to 18 months, is all the runway I have, and I need to survive, I think I'll do whatever it takes. I mean, I think, the idea is to, this whole, I think one of the best things about Zerodha is that, every time I sleep, I know there's almost like a 14, 15 year runway in my head, that's how much money is in the business. So I know that even if I go, even if business goes to trouble 3, 4 years, we're going to be all right, and I think that freedom of knowing that you can get through 3, 4, 5 years is amazing for a founder. So I think the founders should do whatever it allows the business to grow as well. So I think founders have to do whatever it does to raise enough money, and have that cushion. And I think there is, in the startup ecosystem, there is no doubt there is a lot of bloat, and those hard decisions, the earlier you take, I think it's better for the business.
So, Somer, you're the lone investor, so you have to answer for a lot of your brethren. But tell me, SoftBank, obviously I don't even want to get into the kind of stuff that's happened in US tech, even in Europe, and you're kind of now shuttling between London and India. Tell me what, you've also just come back from Milken, so you have a view of what people are talking about, in terms of macros, etc. What do you make of the market? Is there actually a reset, or we're still 6 to 8 months? I mean, Kalyan says April is when the reckoning.
So I think there are two things, both globally and India, which we have to recognize, especially for tech. COVID gave us a glimpse of what tech adoption will look like in fast-forward pace. But I think when the world opened up, we've all realized, whether it be shopping, whether it be food delivery, whether it be ed tech, old habits die hard. I think that's where we will eventually get to. But I think like what Harsh was saying is we can't fast forward that, and we should be sensible about it. Second, if you see from the global financial crisis, we've had 0% of very low interest rates. So the cost of capital and the money floating around in the world, especially in growth equity, has been enormous. And so the bar to invest, the bar to do diligence, the pace of investment has been very free. And I don't blame the entrepreneurs for taking advantage of that. If someone's giving you a value, why wouldn't you take it? What's going to change now is you have come back to pre-COVID, so growths have to be tempered down. Interest rates have gone up substantially. Cost of capital has gone up substantially. This will go into all our models, and therefore the valuations have to be reset. They've reset dramatically in the public markets in India, in tech, and in the US, and that has to follow through on to the private markets. I think 23 is going to be tough. I think the companies which sort out their unit economics and have an appreciation of what's going on and realize very quickly what they have to do will be in a better position. The others who are not focused on the unit economics and not taking the tough decisions, I think will go through a very tough time.
But are you seeing that happen in India? Because when I'm talking to a lot of investors, they're still saying that founders are holding on. It's still not happened the way it has happened in the US. And I mean, Harsh, Kalyan, you guys can also chip in what
I think that's the difference, right? I think what Kalyan said, I think people got overcapitalized in 21, so they have the comfort to wait it out. I sincerely believe the ones who don't realize it quick enough. It's in the West, it's happened in Europe, it's going to come to India. I think if you don't realize what your true value is given the new cost of capital, and you keep pushing it out, I think that's a dangerous game to play.
Harsh, you obviously have mostly done a lot of secondaries. So I don't know what's your sort of take on this, but what would you tell founders who are sort of at the crossroads? They don't have more than 6 to 8 months of runway. How would you deal with a situation like that? Because I think constantly Indian founders tend to hold on to valuation. I see in layoffs as well, they're sort of more piecemeal, unlike what you see in the US tech, which is like 10%, 12% of workforce gone. Those hard decisions don't come by very easily for founders here. Why is that?
Yeah, honestly, if I was a founder with 6 months of runway, without having 100% confidence of breaking even, I would be panic, right? There's no other way of saying that. And I would take every hard decision right to the bone as much as I can. I know this is probably not the best place, but we need to stop caring what the media says about, oh, I've only done 10% layoffs, but 20% layoffs. Look, as a founder, our job is to make money for the business, to earn the right to continue working on our passion. We just want to do what we're passionate about. And if that means layoffs, mass layoffs, whatever it takes, that is your job, your fiduciary responsibility to your board, your investors, your employees who are hopefully your shareholders. You have to do whatever it takes, whether it's 50% layoffs, whatever it takes. Cut your marketing budget, cut your benefits. Look, I know I may be a bit of a dinosaur, but I just believe that there's
Why would you be a dinosaur?
No, I just believe that there's this whole set of people that push all kinds of remote working, flexible working.
Like that,
Look, I think we have to change the world. We also have work from home. We also have unlimited leave. But there has to be given with guardrails, with moderation to solve a problem. It can't be given to be cool. Right? There has to be hard work and perseverance.
I want to ask Kalyan. I mean, he runs a very large company. What's your point of view on that?
One thing is...
and I want to just slip in another question. What does all of this mean for a company like yours, which is 15 years old? You were very seriously contemplating an IPO. Does that sort of go on the back burner, or do you still kind of want to turn in profits, go public?
Firstly, on the...
Kalyan, don't look so stressed, yeah.
No, I'm not stressed. I'll first answer the previous question here, right? I think we need to come together as an ecosystem to a place where concepts of down rounds and all are not seen as...
But why? I mean, we say that we've evolved, etc., in fundraising and valuations. Why is it that...
Yeah, you look at the maths, right? Let's say somebody does a down round of 33%. Let's say they do it in June of next year. If you just look at the CAGR of their valuation, it will still be 60%. A 5-year average of their valuation growth, it will be 60%. Just to let you know, Flipkart's CAGR of valuation is 20 to 25% even today. It's perfectly fine to embrace a concept of a down round, restructure your company.
You guys did it as well.
Yeah, I actually was part of the architect of that, I think 16 or 17, right? Big one. I think we took it down by 30% and we reset the whole cap table and we grew from there. So it's not a problem. And I think, once again, you should also support it as the media, like Harsh said. I think...
What's there for us to support? I mean, we'll write factually whatever it is. We can't say, oh, great, you did a down round. I mean, that can't be the thing, right?
Yeah. The second...
You're right, great. The ecosystem's matured and we've done a ground round.
It is all there to be seen. I mean, once a company goes public, performs well, it's all transparent, right? I mean, there's nothing for me or for anyone else here to say.
Yeah, so coming to the other question, I don't entirely subscribe to this view of a company performs well, does an IPO. That's not the way I look at an IPO also, right? First of all, I also never committed to anybody that we were...
No, you didn't.
We did not, right? So there are reasons why companies go public. There are 2-3 big reasons, right? First of all, of course, it's a fundraising event. Let's not forget that. It's a fundraising event at the highest level. Second is, there is a market-driven price discovery. right, it's a very, very transparent market, so the pricing is very vibrant. Number three, people get liquidity. These are 3-4 big benefits of an IPO. On the flip side, you have to start sharing how you run the company and manage the company with investors. You don't control the company's future very clearly on your own, right? So my own philosophy here is that if you don't need the first 3 pieces, if you can manage those through a private round, I don't necessarily see why we would do a public listing.
I
Yeah.
guess it's easier for you, but you have a lot of companies who've raised capital. And like what Nitin said, I mean, the only way for them to exit is via going public. But you know, since we're talking about IPOs, and I want to ask Nitin. I mean, I was just asking him before we entered the room. There are a lot of people who were trying to actually very seriously go public, don't want to be branded as startup IPOs or tech IPOs. Is that something that you've also got as feedback from, you know, public market investors, especially retail investors who didn't quite understand and went with the euphoria of last year?
Not really, actually. You know, so but I can like, I know, being a regulated business, I think both RBI and SEBI is kind of looking at anything that seems tech, startup-y with through a lens. So I think the pressure there has increased. But also I think the retail investor is also quite mature. I mean, if you see the conversations, etc., that happen, you know, on online communities, you know, people are talking about, you know, valuations, etc. You know, and not really. I don't think it'll be as easy to IPO as it was last year, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, the thing about retail investors is the you know, all those IPOs, all the tech IPOs, the retail subscription wasn't too much, right? I mean, it was just 15 to 20% in max.
Yeah.
Right. So most of it was actually institutional investors. So where the thing about retail investors is, what happens is, you know, if a company lists at, say, 100 rupees, and it comes to 70 rupees, that's when retail gets sucked into it, right? Because, you know, they're kind of benchmarking an X price as the right price for this thing, and then as soon as it becomes cheap, you know, you think it's become cheap and let me buy it. So I think retail lose more money when a company lists at a certain high price, and then it starts its downward journey.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest case in point was actually Yes Bank, right? As in, when the stock went from 400 to 10 rupees, it just lost like crazy amount of wealth, because every time it came down 100 rupees or 50, you know, like 20-30%, you had like a new bunch of investors selling their silverware and trying to buy more of Yes Bank, right? And I think one of the things that has happened when some of the startup, you know, the tech IPOs over the last 2 years of listing, is that a lot of people have gotten stuck on the downward journey, you know. So it's not like they got into the IPO.
Yeah.
So there is bad taste, for sure, you know, saying, you know, there is no way to make money from these companies.
We've been joined by Honorable Union Cabinet Ministers, Mr. Piyush Goyal and Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav. Just wanted to go back to Smita. We have about 4-5 minutes left, and just wanted to ask each one of you, I mean, if there was something you could do differently as a founder, you know, in the COVID period between 2021 especially, what would it be, and how would you sort of, you know, those calls, how differently would you take them?
To be honest, I wouldn't do anything differently. And in fact, I think to build off what Harsh and Kalyan were also saying, I think as founders or as entrepreneurs, our big responsibility is towards the problem that we're trying to solve or towards our passion. It's not towards valuation. Valuations are milestones that happen, and people invest in our journey at certain valuations. And eventually, if we make money for all the shareholders, we're good. So it doesn't matter, you know. And I think in that context, if I see, I mean, we were amongst hopefully the 5% who raised money, recently, and, you know, are on our path to profitability. So I wouldn't do anything at all. I would just continue to say what I used to say before, specifically in the space of education and edtech, that this exuberance around K-12 direct-to-student edtech, I think, is what is also coloring the edtech space, where some people are now realizing that those were not strong business models. And I think as long as we sort of correct for that in the market, that would be great to see.
So, just one question about, when we talk about the reset, is there a reset also happening in the investor community in terms of the outcomes that you'll see out of India? Because if you see, 2021 was all about unicorn rounds, 100 unicorns, etc. But is the market really ready for those kind of outcomes, or is India really more of, profitable companies, 200, 300 million outcomes, going public even at, $1 billion, and maybe not an $8 or $10 billion?
No, I think the outcomes in India, so if you take the Indian stock market, it's about a 3-odd trillion market cap. Let's say we get to tech, and tech broadly gets to 20 to 30% of their market cap in 10 years. I think we'll have very big companies in tech listed in India. I'm not worried about the scale of the outcome. I think it's the timing you put on it, on when will they get there. Like I said, I think we were...
It's going to take longer.
It's going to take longer, and that has to reflect in the valuation. And I think investors and founders have to realize that how capital efficient we want to make the company, and how founders should be focused on profitability, like people here on the panel have shown.
Harsh, Kalyan, you guys want to just closing remarks on, when do you think the worst is yet to come in India in terms of valuations, in terms of corrections, layoffs, and the overall reset?
Absolutely. Next 12 to 18 months is where we'll see a lot of turmoil, volatility, and I think after that things will be much better. So people should focus on opportunities and also surviving this period. I think it's a very big thing.
How are you preparing for it, Harsh?
I have a slightly contrarian view about, maybe I'm an optimist as an entrepreneur, but I believe that relative to the world, this is one of the first times where we're seeing India has a chance to grow and has a capacity to grow with the advent of a lot of things, with all the government initiatives, with 5G, with the amount of Indians getting online yet, the UPI, the rails that we've been set in this country. I believe that this might be one of the first times in tech history at least that we don't just follow the US. I believe that, of course, we will have some knockoff effect of the US, but I believe in the next 6 months, we will start seeing relatively much better growth in India before that kicks back in the US.
No, that's something that a lot of people are talking about, the macros sort of being in the favor of India, but we'll sort of watch and see how that unfolds. Thanks all of you for participating in this panel discussion. Hopefully it was insightful. And over to you, Suresh.
All right, thank you, Samida. Thank you, panelists. Now, welcome, Mr. Piyush Goyal. Welcome, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav. We'll just call you on stage in a minute. But before that, it's time to quickly go into the audience. We've had a few all-star panelists on stage. Now we're going to try and get a few opinions off stage. So where shall we start? Let's start with Shivku. Shivku, apparently funding winter is coming. What kind of warm clothes should entrepreneurs buy?
Sleeveless jackets, preferably Patagonia.
All right. I saw Prashant Prakash. Now I can't see Prashant Prakash anywhere. Where is... Sorry, we have Minister Ashwini Vaishnav trying to... Yes, sir. Your thoughts on what kind of warm clothing entrepreneurs should buy?
I said that the people should start thinking of getting into our job, our profession, getting the sleeveless jackets, and then...
All right, that's good advice for entrepreneurs. Prashant, what's the one thing that you wish entrepreneurs knew, but they just don't know, and you're tearing your hair out trying to teach them?
I think that, things come back in cycles, and don't forget that.
Get a cycle, exercise today, because things will come back in cycles. Harsh, how much money do you have on you right now? How much money do you have?
It depends if you're talking about IDFC card with a credit.
How much liquid cash do you have on you right now?
Maybe about 5,000.
5,000. Now, suppose you had $44 billion on you right now. Can you think of any good way to spend that money?
I think BCCL sponsorship team is here. We can talk to them about increasing our budget. But on a lighter note, I think that maybe buying Twitter.
Okay, last question for Mr. Vaidyanathan. Mr. Vaidyanathan, how much money is too much money?
Let me say that Yeah, I know. No, no, no. I'm making up my mind. I'm just saying that it's in the mind actually. It's in the mind. So I've seen billionaires who have lots of money and never satisfied, just want more and more. I've seen people who have a reasonable, modest wealth and they're pretty happy. So it's in the mind.
And you gave away a lot of your money as well in the form of shares. So well done on that. All right, back on stage. All right, we have our ministers in the house. And I'm now going to... May I first invite Mr. Ashwini Vaishnaw, Union Minister for Railways, Communication, Electronics and IT, on stage. Mr. Vaishnaw, the stage is all yours, sir.
Thank you. I had two choices. First choice was to talk pure tech stuff. Then I thought that you guys must be having that tech stuff almost like every session after session after session. What was the alternative? The second choice was to give you a glimpse of a new India that Prime Minister Modi ji is building right away. Some of the factors are related to, some of the items in that are related to your sector, and some of them are outside your sector, pretty much related to the real economy, the way the villages, the small towns, some of the smaller cities in the country are. So I thought I'll choose the second path if you guys all are okay with it. Okay with it? Great, thank you. So we'll discuss a bit about railways, discuss a little bit about telecom, a slight bit about semiconductors, talk a little bit about how we are navigating the global headwinds as overall economy, as the overall economic thinking, and then it will be an open session for questions. Great? We go ahead then? Thanks. Do I need a mic here? Do you have a mic? All right, so in the real economy, outside the digital tech world, one thing which really affects everybody's lives is railways. So Prime Minister Modi ji has given a very clear task, and you know he's a very tough taskmaster, very clear task to totally transform the railways. And transformation means, first of all, changing the entire user experience. And the user experience has two major components. First one is the stations and second is the trains. I'll talk a little bit about stations. Most of the work was started by my senior predecessor, Honorable Shri Piyush Goyal ji. I'm just continuing what he started and taking it forward. So thank you, sir, so much for doing that heavy lifting and the big push that you gave. So what should a station look like? Should it look like the way it has looked like for 100 years? Or should it be totally different, totally for a new generation? The aspirational generation which is coming up, people who are exposed to things that are happening all over the world. So this is New Delhi station. Would you believe this? These are the two domes under which the entire station, the railway tracks, the platforms are. This entire elevated corridor around it. This is the new generation of India's railway stations. This will be New Delhi station, already tendered out, estimates done, cabinet approvals got. Work should start in coming 4 to 5 months, almost all the permissions taken from all the different agencies that are there. Should this be limited only to Delhi? Absolutely not. There should be, throughout the country, we should try and see which are the big cities, smaller cities where we can replicate this kind of design. This is the overall master plan of the Delhi station. And this is, within the station, huge new urban space is getting created. Multiple levels. This is called roof plaza. Multiple levels, lots of waiting space, lots of space for local products, food courts, everything that you can conceive of. And this is Ahmedabad. Again, thought is to create a totally new set of stations, a totally new design of stations. कितने लोग गुजराती हैं यहाँ पे कोई? केम छो? मजामा? Sarasche? Good. So this is what is the new station. Again, lots and lots of new space getting created, elevated road corridors. This is Kalupur area, right? You know how congested it is. So how do we decongest the city and how do we create station as the city center? That's the thought, that's the target that PM has given us, and we implement it. Ahmedabad, again inside a huge urban space getting created. Now, Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, these are totally different category. What about New Jalpaiguri? What about Vishakhapatnam? What about Bhubaneswar? What about Patna? Again, following the same concept, creating whatever space is required, new urban space which is required, and making the station as a city center. New Jalpaiguri, Ludhiana, all these are stations where the tenders have already been awarded, work has started. This is not something which is in future, right? This is what is really happening today. Again, Ludhiana, huge space getting created. Jammu Tawi, using our heritage, our religious, cultural, our heritage elements out of that, and incorporating those into the city's hub, the cultural hub and commercial hub. Jaipur, second entry, again borrowing from the architecture of the city. Anybody from Jaipur? Like it? Great, thumbs up, yes. Excellent. Chennai, Alambur is the correct way to pronounce, right? Anybody from Tamil? Vanakkam, sir. Alambur is the right way? Not Egmore, na? We should change the spelling also. Bangalore can't. Uru. Your Uru. How many from Bangalore's Uru? Like it? Design is good? We thought that flow is very important in Bangalore's design. This is the place which is full of energy. The sine wave, we thought sine wave, either use sine wave or use dollars. Either of the two. We cannot use anything other than this. So we thought that let's use sine wave. I'm an engineer, so a bit of bias is there. Of course, I studied finance also at Wharton, but between dollars and sine wave, I thought sine wave is better. To your question, how many dollars are important? Bangalore can't. Again, why I showed this picture is the entire tracks and the platform get covered by a totally new roof plaza, and that roof plaza becomes the urban space, a new city center space where people can go, have chat, have hundreds of Starbucks out there where you can have your new age startups there. Madurai, again drawing from the architecture of the place. Gwalior. Look at the design. Combining heritage and totally new world's elements. It's difficult to design this kind of station, but I'm so grateful that Prime Minister gave us a very clear vision that the culture and heritage of the city should be absolutely integrated and woven into the design. And the architects did a good job on all these stations. Ernakulam, again, a beautiful design, very, very much in line with the city's culture. Anybody from Ernakulam here? Like it? Yes or no? Great yes, big yes, good. This is the report card. 137 master plans under preparation, 67 designs approved, 41 work in progress, and 2 where the tender has been done is what I showed you, right? I'll go to the next part of user experience, the Vande Bharat trains. First Vande Bharat train came in 2019. 2 trains which came and started running on the Indian Railways tracks. By now they have covered 18 lakh kilometers. If you follow the formula 2 pi r, Earth's radius, they have covered Earth 45 times without any major problem. It's a technological marvel. It's Vande Bharat train is like a combination of a power plant, of a very complex computer system, and a very complex mechanical system going together at a speed of 180 kmph design and currently operating at 130 till the tracks are upgraded. So whenever in our system, whenever we do something, we go to the Prime Minister, we think that we have done great, and then the PM will say, no, this was the bar, now up to this, go up to this. I don't know where the roof is, so someday we'll have to, he keeps on raising the bar, and he said that no, we have to have better design. So this is the version 2, where lots of improvements have happened, and now practically every month we will be rolling out 3 to 4 Vande Bharats, and PM's target is to connect by 2023, 15th August, the next year 15th August, 75 cities have to be connected. Himachal, this is where. Now, why I showed this is bogie. Like in a truck, we have the chassis, right? Chassis is what gives the strength to the truck, and over that there is a body, right? Similarly, in a train, below the coach, there is a bogie. Bogie is where all the wheels are put in, the brakes are put in, the motor is installed on it, everything practically. This is the structure which gives the strength and the capability. Why I'm showing here is, in typical good European countries, the design tolerances are in few millimeters, 3.5 millimeters, 4 millimeters. Those of you who still remember your engineering, right? So we thought, why don't we take a bigger challenge? We decided to design this bogie with less than 1 millimeter tolerance. And the impact which will be, practically whole world will be buying this very crucial piece of every train set from India. Because the design is significantly superior to what is available in Europe. And what's the result for the users? This is an air spring, right? This air spring and this damper spring combined, and the very low tolerances which makes it a very rigid body, means today when Prime Minister traveled about 40 kilometers in this train, he must have stood up about 15 times to get photographs with the welders, with the electricians, technicians, all the people who came there. Not a single, not even once did he have to take support of a seat or of the cabin baggage area. Absolutely no jerks. Absolutely no jerks. And the sound level, noise level, aircraft noise level is typically 85 to 90 decibels. Noise level inside the train, because of this very good design of the bogie, is only 65 decibels. It's like silent. So by now, about 18 countries have already written reports about the Vande Bharat in their local newspapers, and somebody as important as Financial Times wants to do a full-fledged feature on it. So this is the third. Now we reached this level and boss says, no, this is not enough. So he has given us new targets. We are now designing the third version of it, which will be lightweight, and totally we'll try to start from zero, so that whatever we have learned, incorporate and do even better. I'll come to the bullet train. So again, aspirational India. What's happening outside the tech world? What's happening outside the world of startups? Just some glimpses. By now, 108 kilometers of pillars are done. Sir had started this project, and by now, 108 kilometers, the viaduct corridor is getting done. And again, using totally new technology, speed, very fast construction. Did anybody get a chance to see it while traveling in that stretch? You have seen? How's the construction? Fast? You saw it near Baroda, right? Anybody else did get a chance? No. If you get a chance, go around and see. You'll feel proud of the country which is taking shape. You'll feel that, yes, this is a totally new India which is taking shape. You'll see that in front of your eyes. These are the kind of projects which will make a huge difference in people's lives. As much difference as you are bringing through your innovations and startups, right? All the rivers, large casting yards, very big machines, totally what happened is many of these machines, these kind of machines which pick up 1,000 ton, 1,000 ton is like 500 trucks. So 1,000 ton kind of load in one go and puts it on the top of the pillars. These are huge complex machines, and good thing is first few machines we imported, because this kind of technology is practically there in only 3 countries in the world, this kind of construction technology. So first few machines, couple of machines we imported, everything else we manufactured in India. That's our brain, right? That's the way we can make a very huge scale up. And I'm sure if you get some times, watch it on YouTube or whatever is your preferred mode. Look at some of these construction technologies, very rapid construction. So this guy brings this huge girder which weighs 1,000 tons, puts it on top of this. There is an transporter having 216 wheels. That transporter takes it to the next level, next pillar, and then this guy, the launching guy, this guy picks it up and puts it on the next pillar. So it's a phenomenon. It's something worth going out and seeing by yourselves or seeing on a video to believe it. What you see in the construction of high speed in China, or that kind of stuff is happening out here. This is where I come back to your world, right? So we have absolutely great response on the semiconductor program that was launched on the 1st January earlier this year. And hopefully by 1st January of 23, we would have had at least 2 proposals for setting up fabs in the country. We would have them approved and start the construction work in the coming months. Again, a journey which was very, very difficult journey. Last 40 years we have been trying to do it, right? PM put his full focus on this and said that whatever is the problem within the government system, within the market, within the risk profile of the applicants, remove each and every obstacle, mitigate each and every risk, and come up with a program. And then he approved it when we wanted 35 minutes or 45 minutes presentation before him. He gave us 2.5 hours. It was like complete commitment from the top, and that's the reason why we are today able to say with full confidence that within a short time gap of 12 months, we should be able to sign 2 fab proposals and start manufacturing chips in the country very soon. Okay, this is the next one, 5G, which will again open huge opportunities, new use cases for you, new areas for innovation, healthcare, education, all those things will get changed. And today we are doing about 2,500 towers a week, and hopefully by January onwards, we should be doing about 10,000 towers a week. And by Diwali of next year, we should see very good coverage of 5G in the country. I'll come to one point which is very relevant. In this world which is full of huge uncertainties, especially on the way the pandemic period was kind of managed by some of the economies, some of the very large economies, and what are the consequences of that, and how India did a different thing, how PM had a totally different way of looking at this pandemic, and he put the entire focus on investment-driven growth. Modi ji put his entire focus, instead of a consumption-driven growth, he put his entire focus on investment-driven growth. And the results of this cycle, as everybody said, it will take a lot of time, but the results have started getting visible now. In a world which is full of turbulence, we are a steady ship today. We are a steady ship today. If you look at any parameter, investment as a percentage of the GDP, the whole curve which was going down ever since that 2G, 3G, coal, all those things were happening in the country, and the banking sector got a big hit. From those different times, the country has come out, and we are going back up towards 30% as the structure of our economy, 30% as investment as part of our GDP. Bank credit growth is 14% in June, and as we see the latest numbers, it is almost now 17%. This is a very, very significant indicator of the investment cycle, the capex cycle, which has started in the private sector. This is a great indicator. This is a leading indicator of that. Average capacity utilization, which was 60-65%, is now moving towards 70-75%. And many sectors, it is moving towards 80%, 85%. Jobs, employment, if we simply look at the formal employment, the EPFO registrations, what used to be 5-6 lakh a month as the net number, new minus the people who leave plus the people who rejoin, right? So that net number in the 4 months of April, May, June and July, these 4 months itself is like net 61 lakh employment. So close to every month 14 to 15 or let's say average of 15-16 lakh new jobs getting added in the economy. So that's the sign of a stable ship, a ship which has, despite all the headwinds in the world, despite all the turbulence, here is an economy ably led by Prime Minister Modi ji in very stable way, very mature way, very absolutely a way which is going to create huge opportunities for all of us in this, sitting in this room and outside the room. And very clearly demonstrated by last 10 years, 8 years, from the 10th rank in GDP nominal terms, we are already at 5, and in the coming 6 to 7 years, we should be among the top 3. I'll stop at that and take your questions. I could have spoken about, we could have also discussed the digital personal data bill, and the good response that all of you have given, maybe there are no questions.
No, there are questions, All right, I have a question for the audience, but they need to be honest, Mr. Vaishnav. Honestly, how many people truly here have taken a train journey in the last 3 months? Okay, my question to you, Mr. Vaishnav, is what will it take for 80%? How many of you have taken a flight in the last 3 months?
Everyone.
Okay, what will it take to reverse these numbers?
We shouldn't reverse that.
Okay.
We shouldn't reverse that. In a transportation economics framework, anything above 1,000 kilometers or anything above 800 kilometers should be preferred mode, should be flight.
Okay.
From 300 to 800 kilometers, preferred mode should be train.
All right.
And below that should be car. So we shouldn't look at 80, 20, 60, 70 time.
Okay, all right. All right, we have our first question, I'm told, from Nandita Sinha, CEO of Myntra. Nandita, can you just raise your hand? We'll get a mic. Yeah, there you are. Could I request you to stand up so the cameras can catch you?
I told the organizers they don't plant questions.
Mr. Vaishnav, you can take a seat if you'd like, or you can stand if you'd like.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for taking us through this inspiring vision of what New India could look like and the progress that we are making on that front. What I wanted to ask you was that what would your advice be to the startup ecosystem on the role they could play to really accelerate this vision of New India and be a part of it?
Great question. We are probably among the only 2 or 3 economies which can give an opportunity to have billion population scale solution. There are hundreds of problems out there. Many problems may not have an immediate commercial or a revenue model or a business model, but those are the problems which are really, really making a big difference. So especially for those who have made your money, I'll request, put your mind today on problems which affect, as Honorable PM always tells us, the tribal woman in Jharkhand, the person living in Northeast, the person living in the remote areas of Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh. Think of those people and come up with solutions which will make a significant difference in their lives.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, our second question, thank you, Nandita. Second question is from Prashant Prakash. Prashant, yeah, can we?
Good evening, Mister. This is a policy question. Some of the provisions for cross-border data flow, have been recently relaxed. So directionally wanted to understand what's the thought process here and are we seeing a shift?
So digital economy doesn't have a customs border, right? It doesn't have an airport at which you can stop people or a customs ship where you can stop your goods, right? It's an economy where things flow seamlessly. In this economy, and an economy where we are a very important player in the whole global digital landscape, we should try and take advantage of this strength that we have. We should not try and isolate ourselves. We should try and take advantage of the entire world's eyes are on us as a trusted partner. To be called as a trusted partner, we will also have to call others as our trusted partners. That's the thought process.
So directionally, we are seeing that there will be
Integration
some
with the world
integration flexibility
in a very fair and transparent manner.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Prashant. Minister Vaishnav, I'm going to ask you to give away the first 3 awards now. Right? Can I ask you to take center stage? I'll just take that mic back from you. All right, we come to that part of the evening. The first award category is called Social Enterprise. Now, it's all very fine and dandy to be a capitalist and maximize your profits and EBITDA and ROC and all, but somebody has to think about the world as well. And Banyan Nation is amongst India's leading plastic recycling companies. They work with helping global FMCG and other companies use more recycled plastic for their products. May I welcome on stage the winners, Mani Kishore Vajipayojula and Rajkiran Madan Gopal. Mani and Rajkiran, I have a quick question for you if you'd come here. Sure. How depressing is it? Are we ever going to see a plastic-free world in our lifetimes?
Absolutely. I think particularly in India, we only have to seek inspiration from the milk revolution. For example, India was a milk deficit nation in the 70s. We leveraged the small-scale milk farmers and converted India into the leading producer and exporter of milk. Today, I think millions of informal recyclers are present at every street corner in India. So how do you harness their power, upcycle the plastic, put products back on the shelf that use recycled plastic? I mean, that is how you do it. I think India is in a great position. I think you have the best last mile collectors. I think we're going to do it.
So no need to be overly depressed then. No. All right. Congratulations, Banyan Nation. Congratulations. With that, we move to our second category of award. The second category award in the ET Startup Awards 2022 is called Best on Campus. Now, once upon a time, we used to worry about the so-called brain drain from the IITs. But I have good news for you. Today's winners are drain brains. They applied their brains to actual drainage. Solinas Integrity develops robotic solutions for the pipeline and sanitation industry. May I call on stage Divanshu Kumar, Bhavesh Narayani, Prabhu Rajgopal, and Krishnan Balasubramanian. Congratulations, Team Solinas. Team Solinas, you need to come to answer your question. They've done away already. Please come back on stage. Your moment in the sun. Okay, you're going to speak on behalf of Team Solinas. Okay, my first question to you is, most of us here went to college, A, to get away from parents, B, to bunk classes, C, to sit in the college canteen, or D, to meet girls. Except you went to meet guys. Right. So my question is, what is your problem? Why couldn't you be like any other college student? Why do you have to be so industrious and set a bad example for everybody else?
No, we did all of that, and then in the final year, we decided to do something good as well, and it just came out like that. We had professors and we had a team.
And you have your professor on stage as well.
Yeah.
Professor, you encourage this kind of behavior?
Absolutely. So, but Divanshu was a very special youth. He wanted to do something social as well. He was always doing something social. He was running a peer learning initiative before this. So we said, when he came and said he wants to do something, impactful, we said, why don't you go develop a robot for cleaning sewers?
I think you're setting a very bad example for us, but congratulations on the award. Please, we wish you all the best for the future. Right, no, one more award, Minister, if you don't mind. Our third award for the evening is called Bootstrap Champ. As the name suggests, this award goes to somebody who's never said the word, show me the money, to a venture capitalist. The Bootstrap Champ of 2022 was founded by two cousins. They went from a 24 crore top line in 2018 to 885 crores in 2022. The winner, ladies and gentlemen, is Noise. May I welcome Gaurav and Amit Khatri onto stage. Hi, Gaurav and Amit. Quick question for you.
Yeah.
Now, typically, noise is the enemy of good quality audio, right? And your brand is called Noise. What's up with that?
You know, it's like we wanted to create
Little high.
for the youngsters, and what we used to say is Suno Dil Ka Shor. And we are anyways more of a wearable brand where wrist wearables are the key focus where we are at.
Okay.
Suno
Sorry,
Dil Ka
go
Shor.
ahead.
what
You
we
need to hold
call-
up the mic a little bit.
Yeah. Suno Dil Ka Shor, what we call as a punchline.
Yeah, it doesn't want to make noise. He said, Suno Dil Ka Shor, and that's why the brand is called Noise. All right. Congratulations, Noise. Thank you, Minister Vaishnav. Thank you very much. All right, we now move to the next part of the evening. You've heard from our startup CEOs. You've heard from Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. It's my pleasure to now invite Mr. Piyush Goyal, Union Minister for Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, and Textiles onto stage. Mr. Goyal, can we have you on stage? May I also invite Bodhisattva Ganguly, Executive Editor at the Economic Times, to engage the Minister in a fireside chat.
So, thank you, Minister, for doing this. Also, wanted to thank Mr. Vaishnav for that very detailed presentation. For both of you, it's the second time actually this year, but that's because our schedule had gone a little bit helter-skelter because of COVID. Hopefully, it'll come back to once a year routine from 2023. Anyway, so
our startups are doing so well. Even if you were to award them twice a year, you would still not be able to recognize all the good ones.
No, it's a. No, you're absolutely right, because some of our lists of nominees are actually so strong that one feels bad, because I've been part of the selection process, also selecting one winner. I think they're all winners, and it's a great city. Just wanted to. So there are many questions that one can ask you, from exports to FTAs and industry in general. But let me just start off with a startup-related question, because obviously India has emerged as one of the largest startup ecosystem in the world, the third largest after the US and China. We've now had hundreds of unicorns. Now, obviously, how do you see this playing out with the global economy now, seeing a flight to safety? There is risk capital is obviously declining, risk appetite is declining. Do you think India can be some kind of a safe haven as far as startups is concerned?
The last 2 days, we have been engaged with the prominent players of the startup ecosystem at Bengaluru. And I must say the enthusiasm, the energy was truly infectious. The mood is very good. And this morning, in one of the presentations that was made before all of us, one of the important elements that was made out was easy money never helps a startup succeed. A little tight-fisted, tough time is always good for a startup to come up with innovative ideas, with better thought processes and more affordable solutions to our day-to-day problems. And therefore, I don't see capital determining the success or failure of our startups. Our startups are very much focused on game-changing ideas. They're looking at day-to-day issues that business faces, that our people in their lives face, coming up with very innovative and smart solutions. And when the times are tough, that's the real time when one is encouraged to do better. While some of the international companies are talking of layoffs today, our Indian startups are offering to hire them in, including some of the persons who are on your panel. I think Harsh also mentioned that he would be hiring people. Cool. Frankly, every day that I see Twitter and all the mess that they are in, I'm so happy that I was one of the first to get on to Coup. And I think Coup should take over Twitter. That's the strength of Indian entrepreneurs, our startups. And I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that these tough times that the world is facing are an opportunity we should not miss.
So one of the ways that you can perhaps do that, and I don't know whether where there's a seller for Twitter right now, there may soon be given the situation, but is to create a very strong domestic VC industry. China has a very large sort of state-backed VC industry, startup industry. How do we do that in India?
Well, one thing is for certain that the Chinese economy got a head start over India in the early 80s. We really embarked on that process with baby steps in 91. But it's only after 2014 that we saw the Indian banking system getting cleaned up. We saw foundational changes to our economic framework. The whole startup movement also was launched by the Prime Minister on 16th of January 2016. Until that time, we had about 500 startups registered in the ministry or in the government, maybe a few more other than that. And by and large, the culture was people wanted to look for a job. People wanted to get into government or get into a private sector job. And the traditional glide path was do your studies, go abroad if you can. If you can't go abroad, you don't get admission, you look for a IIM at best in India and then look for a job. Today, I see young kids and Startup India engages with them even when they are in school. I see young kids, 12, 13, coming up with some very exciting ideas. Some of them as social ideas, some of them very interesting economic solutions to the problems that we have, and some scientific solutions. So my own sense and reading is that while we may have started off late, we are catching up much faster than anybody had imagined. So in the last few years, and Mr. Vaishnav just showed us an excellent presentation, where he highlighted the change of mindset of the nation. And Prime Minister Modi is focusing on these structural changes which will help this country in thinking big, thinking transformational. We have to get out of the traditional path of incremental gains. And I think today the country is not going to settle for anything but truly big ticket reform, big ticket outcomes. And therefore, despite the COVID pandemic, despite the geopolitical situation being so worrying across the world, the entire planet today recognizes that India is that bright spot. Whether you talk to an economist, whether you talk to world leaders, talk to any banker, they all recognize India as the bright spot. India will lead the charge, the revival of world economies. And I personally believe that India should not be planning for anything less than a $30 trillion economy as the base case when we celebrate India at 100 in 2047. I would think that if we all put our heart and head to it and put in that little effort that Prime Minister Modi articulated in his Panch Pran on 15th August, the fifth commitment that he sought from the nation was that we'll all look at making India a developed nation as our duty. और उस कर्तव्य भावना से अगर हम सब लग जाते हैं और हमारे स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम में तो पूरी ताकत है, पूरी काबिलियत है करने के लिए, तो I would think that even a $40 trillion economy as the CII is projecting by 2047 is not beyond imagination.
No, let's hope that happens, and we'll soon be, I think, the third largest by hopefully the end of this decade, even according to most projections.
But aspire for more.
No, yeah, of course. I just wanted to ask you, one of this government has had a very strong Atmanirbhar Swadeshi orientation in backing domestic industry, right? If you look at the defense sector, everything from drones to advanced weapon systems has been opened up to the Indian private sector. The space, we just saw the first private sector space launch, earlier this week. With specifically for the startup sector, and one can even bring in events like the Ukraine war and the sanctions that were imposed on Russia. Now, whether justified or not, there are lessons. For example, WhatsApp, you would argue, is essential infrastructure in India. So how does that, obviously, coup is an alternative to Twitter, and let's see how that happens. But what is your thinking in this regard?
First of all, Bodhi, I think the media also needs to change its mindset. It's time you got some confidence in you.
Sure.
Even when I was talking of the economy numbers, I somehow didn't get the impression that you were enthusiastic about those numbers. And let me therefore articulate, because Economic Times, I think, needs to also do their maths. If you look at the Indian economy over the last 25 years, and you'll all agree the last 25 years is really not what we see the next 25 years to be. But if you see the last 25 years, we were a $270 billion economy 25 years ago. We closed 2021 at about 3.2 trillion. That's about 11x growth in 25 years. And it translates to 8.72%. 8.72% compounded annual growth rate in US dollar terms. Now, of course, we all understand, and I'm sure Economic Times more than anybody else, that we have a certain real growth, we have inflation, and then we have a rupee depreciation, which finally, the nominal growth, and then we have a rupee depreciation, which gives us the growth number in dollars. Now, even if we were to just extrapolate that number, at 8.72% from 21 to 2047, you are looking at a $32 trillion economy. Just at that level, and we are still quite low in terms of base.
We are trained to think of next day's headline, so that's why I was not thinking that far ahead.
But in one of my sessions this morning, somebody, a startup financer, I think somebody from the finance world, Prashant, she's in the finance world, she just threw a thought for the consideration of the room that, well, at 2047, India should aim to be $47 trillion. Sure. And I got my team to do a little bit of maths, that if we were to grow at 8%, real growth, and personally, I think it's not beyond imagination, not beyond the realm of probability. And given the kind of talent that is represented amongst your award winners, amongst the young people of India, what we experience when we go to the various campuses, the enthusiasm, the sheer confidence that they exude. If we were to do an 8% real growth, add inflation, and with that kind of a growth, obviously, the kind of export numbers that we are seeing, we'll probably cross 750 billion this year. In the 75th year, it's very appropriate that we cross 750 billion. We are looking at 2 trillion by 2030, services and goods. And then when you extrapolate it further to 2047, we should be looking at $6 or $7 trillion of exports of goods and services. At that level, we'll start seeing the rupee also appreciating. And thus, I wouldn't be surprised if we can actually break those barriers and really go forward with very, very strong numbers. We don't have to necessarily aspire to be only the third largest. That will be by 2027. Almost everybody is unanimous that India will be the third largest GDP in the world by 2027. And I think that's going to be the inflection point from where we'll just take off. And our aim is not only a developed India, but a developed India with inclusive growth, a developed India which takes prosperity to every single child born in this country. And that's where our startup ecosystem, I think, is making us proud.
No, undoubtedly. I mean, so it's the end of a long day, so that's why. Anyway, but I just want to ask you the 8% GDP growth. You would actually need to raise your savings rate to the mid-30s. I mean, I think that's, just a matter of, we'll have to have a savings rate of 33%. I think that's
I
what
think Ashwini just showed us the curve upwards. We're already at 30. Kindly bear in mind, any economic student or somebody who understands the way capital is formed in the country will recall that in India, we had, in the second half of 30s, we were upward of 35% at one point of time.
Right, that's right.
Where did we go wrong? Look back into the story 15 years ago.
The whole NPMS.
Yeah, exactly. So you know the whole thing, Bodhi. We went wrong when we started indiscriminately lending money to the wrong borrowers, and we in the startup world clearly know that it's the entrepreneur who matters more than the project and the idea. More often than not, Prashant will put in money on a good entrepreneur, even if the idea is half-baked, rather than put in money in a good idea, a big, fully baked idea, but where he's not comfortable with the entrepreneur. Our banking system, and maybe there was an element of telebanking which we are told prevailed in the 2006 to 2012 period in very big measure, when we saw bank credit going up by leaps and bounds. Vedi is nodding his head. He was very much a part of the banking system. And we saw the way banks used to lend indiscriminately. Now, that's the Chinese model. It's like what's happened in China. Nobody in this room knows the real story of the Chinese banks. I also don't know it. But the story is that the Chinese banks are all in trouble. But they used easy liquidity, lent money indiscriminately. They have not yet recognized the reality in their banking system. And we have a situation today where if that bubble was to burst one day, I think the third largest will quickly move to the second largest, faster than you and I can imagine.
Absolutely.
And therefore, capital formation is something which I see happening in the country and happening very, very quickly.
Just pause for 1 minute.
I think we should welcome the Honorable Chief Minister with a round of
has
applause.
joined. Welcome, sir.
You should say Namaskara,
Namaskara
in Bengaluru.
I'll ask you some local questions on the film. Anyway, at the end of this thing. So let me, one of the ways in which we can raise our growth rates, and you talked about is obviously exports, which is, and one of the ways exports can go up is through FTAs. So you're now, where are we in terms of the FTA with the UK? And I think there's one with the EU, which is also perhaps following the UK one, which is in the works.
Bodhi, you'll be very proud to know, as will every one of our friends assembled here today, that the entire world, literally the entire world today, wants to enter into an arrangement, a free trade agreement or an economic partnership with India. Something for every Indian to be proud, because they see the potential that each one of you has. The United Kingdom, they were very keen to close the free trade agreement by Diwali, but we are all aware of the political turmoil in that country over the last 3-4 months, which held them back. The European Union, we launched a few months ago, and we've had 3 rounds already. Discussions are ongoing. but the European Union is 27 countries. And you need to build up consensus and literally negotiate a deal in which every one of them also gets interested and is willing to sign off. Canada, we are looking at an early progress partnership where we are trying to look at the low-hanging fruits. By the way, in the middle of my startup conference this afternoon, I also did a video call with my counterpart from Canada, Mary NG, because we've discussed and decided that every 15 days, we'll progress and review the progress of the FTA. That's the level of interest. And now, because of the UK delay, Canada is very keen that we want to be the first G7 country to sign up with India. So we are having two ladies, ministers, negotiating with India to see who goes first. Having said that, next week, we'll be launching another free trade agreement negotiation with a group of 6 countries. I've had 4 rounds of discussions where Switzerland Minister Guy Parmelin has been requesting me that they have a group of 4 countries, the EAEU alliance. They want to negotiate a free trade agreement. I remember when I became Commerce Minister in 19, at Davos I asked him in another engagement, 2 or 3 occasions, I asked them that we would like to do an FTA with you because EU at that time hadn't opened up. And they would just look at us with disdain. Now for the last 2 years, they've been asking me they want to do an FTA. I don't have bandwidth to get my teams. They're already doing 2 shifts. They do 1 negotiation in the morning, another in the evening. I'm worried we may not land up making mistakes, but they are very keen. Russia is a group of a few countries, EFTA probably, or I've confused the 2. Russia is EAU and Switzerland is EFTA. Everybody, Russia wants to start
EFTA
negotiating.
is the European Free Trade Area, which is Switzerland. Yeah.
So they want to, Russia and its group of countries wants to start the FTA negotiations. I can tell you today the world is looking up to the big India opportunity. Look at the delta from 3.5 trillion. You have a delta which could be 32 trillion, which could be 40 trillion. We don't know. Yeah. They are also seeing it just like we can see it. They are also seeing the delta. No other part of the world has this kind of a delta in the next 25 years. And therefore, we are on a good sweet spot, but negotiations have to come up with a fair, balanced and equitable agreement. No agreement is going to be signed up for the sake of an agreement. It has to be win-win for both. We'll need to open up some, they need to open up their markets for us. We need good market access. We need to be sure that the agreement gives tangible and substantial gains to both sides. And these agreements are not for a few years or a decade. They outlast probably all our lives. And therefore, one has to do it very carefully. In the past, our experiences when I go into the files, agreements were often rushed through. You can rush something. Time is not required to do a thing smarter or better. But sadly, the kind of deals that I'm finding did not give us the opportunities that we should have got in other countries, that we should have negotiated hard with other countries. We are being very, very cautious in our negotiations, but I can assure you, we will get good free trade agreements as and when we sign up. We'll open up large market opportunities for our startups, for our technologies, for our innovators in those countries. We are focusing on goods, we are focusing on services, we are looking at education in a big way, we are looking at working with these countries for joint collaborations in innovation, R&D. Sky's the limit, potential is huge. Together, with the support of all the participants here today and the startup ecosystem, which is now 82,000 strong and growing by the day, with the kind of technological innovations we are using for public good to take services to the people, be it the ONDC, the Open Network for Digital Commerce, be it the success story of UPI, be it our effort for giving free food to 80 crore people through the COVID pandemic for 28 months now, so that not a single child or not a single family had to sleep hungry through this tough time. All of these measures are helping India strengthen at the core and become an economy ready to take off.
So I think we're coming to the end of our time. We'll just ask you one question. I think I've been reading the reports of some of your engagements in Bangalore. You've spoken about this local film Kanthara, which has been a phenomenal, I think, an all-India success. Why don't you talk a bit about that? What are the lessons which a movie like this with a low budget holds for the startup sector?
I think it's a great lesson for all of us. It shows us money can't buy you everything. So Kantara was a low budget film. I'm told at 16 or 18 crores the whole movie was made. B, you need to have your ideas right. You need to have clarity in thought. And Kantara presented its storyline with a great deal of clarity. C, you need to be connected to the masses. Kantara got resonance across the country, now going international also.
Right.
So it worked for a larger audience. It had an appeal to a larger audience, and which is one of our strengths today in India. Economies of scale. Economies of scales helps our technologies get bigger markets, helps us becoming low cost and more affordable. And I can give you so many examples, the LED old story being the least of all, which is public good, which helped our people and helped the nation in every respect. So Kantara in some sense shows us that our startups and the work that they are doing, very often, look at the spaceship that went out yesterday or day before yesterday. And look at the work that's happening, let's say, in the various incubators across the country. We'll have another spaceship being launched next month, probably coming out of IIT Madras. And something which is only because the regulatory framework in India has now been made so friendly so that private sector can participate. Pawan Goenka has been made in charge of InSpace to encourage the private sector participation. Drones, there were so many policies holding us back from drones. We are now looking to have a leadership position in drones. So I think the idea behind the ease of doing business efforts, the efforts to make everything more and more public oriented, get the people and the Indian businesses and private sector involved, is to see if we can get business out of the common man's life and let the private sector flourish, give them more opportunity. They can create 1 million Kantaras every single month, and they can serve the people of India through their innovations and their outstanding ideas at scale in a large country like India, so that our lives become easier, our businesses become better and much, much more profitable.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Request you to stay on stage. We'll have to give away a few awards. Let me assure you that the Economic Times also committed to the 30 trillion economy goal by 2047.
Don't squirm so much, Bodhi. 30 क्यों 40 पे जाओ यार.
Barabar. I agree. We should be. It'll help everyone. And so thank you. Thank you for those inspiring words. Thank you.
Thank you. May I please welcome the Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Mr. Basavaraj Bommai, onto stage to join Mr. Piyush Goyal. Right, coming back to the awards now. Next up, we have the award for innovation. And to give away this award, may I invite the MD and CEO of IDFC First Bank, Mr. V. Vaidyanathan, to join the ministers on stage in giving away this award. The award, ladies and gentlemen, is called Top Innovator and goes to a company that aims to build a platform to help treat people with seemingly incurable diseases and enable access to newer technologies for the bottom 95%, the masses that Minister Goyal talked about. May I invite Jogin Desai, Dhruv Sareen, Rajarshi Pal and Rajani Babu of iSTEM onto stage. Sir, I have a quick question for you. We've seen all these science fiction movies in which you can grow organs in laboratories, no need of human donors anymore. Many of the people in this room, organs are going to eventually fail. Can we bank on the fact that you will provide us laboratory-grown organs?
Not me alone, but there's lots of organs being grown about 20 kilometers from here. For the eye, for the liver, for the lungs, all that. So in the next 10 to 15 years, absolutely, all this is happening.
All right. For those of you having a drink after this event, remember that a new liver you can get. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Vaidyanathan, for joining us on stage. I think a photo op is being asked for. Mr. Vaidyanathan, I think you need to join for the photo op. Thank you, Mr. Vaidyanathan. Our next award is called Comeback Kid. I'm going to request the Chief Minister to give away this award as well. As the name suggests, this is an award for a founder who's made a stunning comeback from tough times. This year's Comeback Kid is a person who's seen his share of troubles, from co-founder who quit, to a funding drought, to almost shutting down, but he's back with a bang. I can see him smiling. Shiv Kumar Ganeshan of Exotel, please come on stage to receive the award for Comeback Kid of the Year. Shivku, I have one question for you before you go. Probably the most important question of the evening. Now, how many men in this room? To identify as men, okay. Most men in this room don't know how to handle rejection. It's a serious problem. You've handled rejection multiple times. Any tips for the men in the room?
Why do you ask these 10 mark questions?
It is. You're winning an ET award for Comeback Kid. A tough question is the least I can ask you.
So every rejection is a new problem to be solved. That's how I look at it.
All right, men in the room, that's your advice. I'm going to request Minister Piyush Goyal to give away the next 3 awards. The next award reiterates the idea that behind every successful idea is a very gutsy woman. The award is called Woman Ahead and goes to a company that provides affordable, tech-enabled solutions to help school kids learn better and faster. They've impacted over 1.4 million school kids already. Please welcome Smita Dera of Lead School. Smita, quick question for you. Quick question for you. Mark Twain very famously said, never let school interfere with your education. Did you let your school interfere with your education?
I think I got my education despite the poor quality schools, and I'm trying to change that.
All right, well said. Congratulations, Smita. Moving on, our next award is for the Midas Touch. As the name suggests, this award goes to a woman or a man who has that magical ability to turn everything into gold. If you don't believe us, believe Freshworks, Browser Stack, ChargeBee, and Amagi. Shekhar Kirani of Axel Partners is our Midas Touch winner. Shekhar. Shekhar, quick question for you, if I can draw you away. You know, being Midas touch and all that is very fine. But the actual King Midas had a serious problem. Everything he touched turned to gold, including food. He eventually starved to death. Any lessons for VCs here?
Be foolish, be humble. I see, if you think India as a startup, you know, as we all discussed, we are going to see another $7 trillion. And with the digitally influenced startups, I'm known as a 10x person inside my Axel portfolio companies. we will see 10x, which means we will see tens of $100 billion companies, several $10 billion companies, and lots of unicorns.
Aapke muh mein ghee shakkar. Thank you, Shekhar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Minister.
I think it's important that we also recognize, while it may have a Midas touch and they may have made a lot of money, the good part about this team, Prashant is also here, the good part is everything is not about the money that they make. They give back to the whole startup ecosystem in a big way. So Prashant, for example, was instrumental in the last 3 days. The Bangalore Tech Summit that we've just seen, many of you may have visited. He's a integral part of our Startup Advisory Council and really comes up with very, very serious, thought-provoking ideas. So thank you very much, Prashant. Keep up the good work.
Congrats, Shekhar. Right, we're down to the final award for this evening, but the evening is not yet over. Don't worry. It's the Startup of the Year. This year's winner is India's most valued fintech startup. They started with trying to rule the digital payments ecosystem and are now venturing into payroll management, neo-banking, and lending as well. The Startup of the Year is Razorpay. May I invite Harshil Mathur and Shashank Kumar of Razorpay. Harshil, Shashank, one quick question for you. Your company is called Razorpay, okay? Now, you guys are obviously razor sharp, all very good and dandy. But you strongly, a razor can also cut you very badly. Any lessons for startup founders here?
No, rightly said. I think the idea for us to choose the name Razorpay was to give a glimpse of something which is cutting edge, which is completely new and which is just playing at the edge of the world. But at the same time, you have to be careful about it. So I think that's the flavor of the season and it goes well with our name.
All right. Good advice for startup entrepreneurs there. Congratulations, Razorpay. May I now request the Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Mr. Basavaraj Bommai, to say a few words to this August gathering.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕನ್ನಡದ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ Nandan is here. Economic Times has always come up with the best of their capabilities, and every year the Startup Awards. And I'm very happy that every year they are conducting in Bangalore. It's the right place. And our union minister, a dynamic union minister, who has combination of portfolios, and he has that kind of ability to do the best in each portfolios, even they are not really very well connected. He excels in food and civil supplies. He excels in ITBT, excels in industry. I don't know how he manages. But whenever he's around, it's full of energy, and he engages everybody. And see that everybody is given a kind of a target and a task, and really he moves the people and he moves the economy also. So we are very lucky to have such a dynamic minister. After a long time, we have a commerce industry minister of international status. He can excel in any international forum. I have seen quite a few of them. Having said that, Economic Times, the name itself speaks for a lot of things. Economy and time, these two are very, very closely related. Whenever I talk to my finance people, I say time and money. What is the real money? The real money is to have what we want at a time which we want. If there is money when we don't want, its value is zero. And when we want, if it is not there, still it is zero. We should have the right kind of money at the right time. And both has been said in economical time. So a good money, good time means economical times. And economical times has been really in the forefront as far as business in India is concerned, economics in India is concerned, and they have been excelling with the international standards in their newspaper reporting. Every day a good businessman should read economic times like a Bible. If it doesn't do it, he misses a lot. A man who reads economic times can hardly make any mistakes. As far as startups are concerned, I don't want to say anything. A lot has been said in the whole week. The other day, Piyush ji was there in the concluding sessions. We had best of the sessions tech summit, where more than 300 international delegates were there. More than 130 companies participated. And we had more than 30 sessions where a lot of things were discussed which we normally doesn't discuss in any of the forums. It's a way forward for technology, development of technology for the betterment of human life. I have given certain targets to my people. I want Bangalore to be the #1 in science and technology. It should be #1 in startups. It should be #1 in financial capital. It should become a financial capital of the country. I know that Piyush will not take it very kindly, but still, I want it to be the financial capital of the country. Startups are themselves really a wonderful experience. What are the startups are? Startup is you just start up. You don't know what you are doing. I am reading your mind. You really don't know what you are doing. You really don't know how it goes. And you really have got some goal, but you really doesn't know what the real goal is. But being adventure itself is a very creative thing. And being creative, always you get something. Unless until you put first forward, nothing is going to happen. And that kind of startup is not at all a venture. People who want to do venture don't come near startups. It is just an adventure. अंधेरे में तीर मरना है. लग गया तो दिवाली, नहीं लग गया तो भी दिवाली है. But Bangalore has become really a hub of startups. That eco culture has been developed now. And the startups are in such a field where we really never thought that there can be a venture or adventure or a startup in that field. Right from agrotech to the space, we have got startups. And for Bangaloreans, creating startup has become a habit. Creating unicorns has become a habit. And creating decacorn will also be a habit in the future. We have got 3 decacorns out of 4. And next year, I want at least 10 decacorns to be there in Bangalore. And I'm sure it is going to happen. That is the pool of talent what we have here. And it is not built overnight. It is the hard work of all our earlier industry leaders, scientists, engineers, and the subsequent governments which have been investment friendly on science and technology. It's all cumulative effect which has come down here. And every government has tried to do it better. They want to expand it, but my government is a little different. I want to scale it up. No, expansion is a very small word for me. आजकल सब कुछ एक्सपेंशन हो जाता है. So it has to scale up, and our leader Piyush Goyal ji has set very high standards for the economic growth of this country, as our Prime Minister has already said that $5 trillion by 2025. Karnataka wants to contribute $1 trillion by 2025. We are just 50% mark. So in next 2 years we have to do the miracle so that the next half achievement will be done in next 2 years. What has been achieved in 75 years, it should be achieved in 2 years. That is the target I have, and I am confident that we will do it. One thing which is out of this, I got time for 2 minutes? If I have. I am a student of economics and philosophy. Both are very contradicting. There is profit and loss in economics, and there is papa punya in philosophy. So, but I look paradoxical. I try to look papa punya in economics and profit loss in philosophy. And my dear friends, let me tell you, it's a great experience. It's a great experience. Both are motivating. Think of a business which is profitable at also you earn punya. Imagine that. What a value addition to your profit. We think profit is a value addition. No. Adding punya to the profit is value addition. So the path to have that profit should be such a neat, clean path. You feel satisfied and you earn that kind of a goodwill of a creator. Secondly, profit and loss in philosophy. See, man has got a habit of always looking into profit and loss. ये किया तो मुझे क्या मिलेगा? वो किया तो मुझे क्या मिलेगा? नहीं मिला तो क्यों करना? मिलना है तो क्या करना? A lot of questions come out. Therefore, there is a motivation to earn punya also. If there is profit in earning punya, everybody, all businessmen will try to earn punya. Either way you get profit, either way you get punya. So, philosophy and economics will go together. However, Disraeli, the great democratic, has said that there is no magic in economics, only results. Therefore, look for the results, look for the targets, work on it. In Bangalore, I told the other day, thoughts meets the technology. Success meets the sustainability. Therefore, I want everybody to be successful and sustain that success so that you can achieve higher. And startup is one thing, what is known as lateral thinking. The same thing is there in the startups. Think differently. Think out of the box or kick out the box. There is one startup called Kick Out Box or Bangalore Kick Out or Bangalore Box Kick Out. Something is there already, and it won the award also. So you have to be kicking out. You have to do something different and have that energy, have a belief in yourself, be successful. And I congratulate all the award winners here who have done extraordinary in their field, and they are the great motivators for us. They are the hope for us. You have made us proud. You have made us proud, and we are proud of you. And we'll also make you proud with our good policies. Thank you.
Just 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Just 2 more minutes, Chief Minister and Mr. Goyal. 2 more minutes. May I now invite the MD and CEO of IDFC First Bank, Mr. V. Vaidyanathan, for his closing remarks. Mr. Vaidyanathan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely a great pleasure for all of us in this room today to have witnessed this wonderful event. And Mr. Vaishnav, you really blew us away with your outstanding presentation. It was just wonderful. We all are so inspired all of us in this room about what a new, amazing India we are going to create. And thank you very much for all the hard work you're doing, and the Prime Minister for bringing this alive for us. Mr. Piyush Goyal, you did absolutely wonderful. You motivated all of us a lot. You know, this question asked by Suresh to me earlier, saying that how much money is enough? You know, on reflection, I should say $30 trillion. Really. $30 trillion, because we want to be a developed country. So no other answer is a good enough answer. So really we want to be. Number three, I have because we're associated with the program and we have the opportunity of saying a few words to you. I just want to introduce our bank to you, and I really request all the startups to build your relationship with us, and I'll tell you why. The reason why I describe a bank to you is that I must say that we are not as well known as the big 3 or 4 banks in the country, because I must say we are maybe the next league of banks, so to say. We knew, but we had the opportunity of starting many things afresh in terms of our thinking, and very proud of that. In a vision sense of the bank, we firmly embed ethical banking and customer-first banking as a very key theme of the bank. Now, you can say, it's just a statement, but it's not. Saying it is one thing, but living it is something else. And we are really making every effort to live it. Now, how do you live, say, an ethical bank statement or a customer-first position? We actually went, to give you one example, we went and checked out the long list of charges that we charge from customers. And we went and checked with our customers whether they understand the statements of banks. For example, let me say, anywhere bank charges, this is the bank, a branch that's outside of you, that's a non-home branch, the charges for that, cash deposited branches is charge structure, cash withdrawal from branches is a cash structure, let me say IMPS, RTGS, everything is charge. So we went and did a research and found customers don't understand this. Believe it or not, 25 charges, you'll be astonished to note, 25 charges, our bank scrapped all the charges, made it plain zero. So you don't understand it, we don't charge you. So basically, and people are actually astonished, how can you really do this? Man, if you're running a bank, how do you not charge for 25 charges, which are, millions of customers are paying? So we say we're a new bank, we really don't want any penny in our pocket that doesn't belong to us, our customers, which we earned it a really neat way. Not that any other bank is earning any other way. They're all disclosing, transparent banks, nothing wrong about that. But just that we are new and we have the opportunity of starting fresh. We're the first bank in the country, 75 years in the country, India is paying interest on savings accounts on a quarterly basis. I'm so proud we're the first bank to start paying interest on savings accounts on a monthly basis to customers. So customers are saying interest like a, so basically, just a few examples, the list can go on, to say that we're building a truly happy bank. All of us are very thrilled with what we're building. I'm telling you, your bank is doing really wonderfully well. And, it's a startup award, so I must just say that startups have talked about profitability, but we are also relatively a startup bank. But I must say that we're a profitable startup bank, and we're making close to about annualized profit over 2,000 crores. So you should know that we're a very profitable bank, so you can very confidently bank with us. The last thing is about Startup Award, since we talked about it today. Obviously, all of us who witnessed the program are very, very proud of all the entrepreneurs who built who are doing amazing things. We are all, of course, as a country, also very proud, 100 unicorns, 100 on the way, Sonicons, and maybe 70,000 startups, 20,000 coming up every year. It's all like thrilling things. But the most amazing thing is that actually it's only going to get better. And really, I'll tell you why. Because when we say we are like a $3 trillion economy becoming, say, $7 trillion in 2030, just imagine $7 trillion, I mean, that's like 2030, like right in our eyes. Minister Goyal talked about $47 trillion. I mean, I'm just salivating to think about it. But even just this number. So that is a kind of, demand that will come, internal demand. Minister Vaishnav talked about how much the EPFO and employment getting created. That much more employment will get created. So that kind of demand will come in the country. That's really amazing. And to couple it up, that's more important. To couple it up, India is becoming rapidly digitized under the Digital India mission of the government of India. And that's also very powerful. None of I'm sure all startups will agree that nobody could have made all the, billion-dollar valuations if India and the government of India, RBI, had not created the, UPI railroad. It's impossible to have built all the billions. The ONDC is the next big thing, and the father of this ONDC and the Digital India is in front of us, Nandan Nilekani. All of us should give him a really big hand, and I must say that it's really a privilege for all of us to even be with him. So the point is that with the new digital India, economy coming about, coupled with the growth of the Indian economy, that will set us up, and coupled with the platforms India is setting up in terms of UPI, ONDC, and the AA account aggregator, and many things that are coming up in India, many more unicorns and startups will come up. So I'm honestly very, very confident that they'll come up. And when we see all the global corporations and about how India, globe is building startup ecosystems, I would definitely say that, Minister Bommai talked about one very interesting thing today, that he wants to build a startup ecosystem in the city, and India really needs to build that. And you know what that means. It's just not building startups, it's really the whole ecosystem. So we'll talk about some other day. And Mr. Bommai really, Chief Minister really talked about one very fantastic line. I noted it in my head, saying that punya and profits, that's, I think it's a great line you left for all of us. I'm personally not so much into punya or anything like that, because I believe that work should show. But I'm really more into concept. I really love the concept you said, and I think all our startups have something to take away today. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure, and I do invite all of you to go associate with us. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Vaidyanathan. Thank you very much. Ministers, I'm just going to hold you back for 30 seconds. I know you have other appointments to go to. May I request all of tonight's winners to quickly come up on stage with your trophy for a photo op with the Chief Minister of Karnataka and the Union Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal. Quickly, can you come up, because I think they're both in a bit of a hurry. So. There's also an offer for all of you. There's an IDFC has a fascinating photo booth just outside this room. If you'd like to grace the cover of a magazine as Entrepreneur of the Year, just pop into that photo booth and ask a friend of yours to take that photo. All right, that brings us to the end of the ET Startup Award 2022. Thank you to our presenting partner, IDFC First Bank. Thanks also to our partners, the Leela Bengaluru, Traction, and ET Now. Once again, if you'd like to go social with today's awards, use the hashtag ET Startup. Please join us for dinner and drinks. Thank you very much. See you next year.